Let's talk about your work during COVID. Obviously, Dorian was one thing, and then you guys do a lot with literacy in the community with the kids after school at the center. What was providing help during COVID like? What was some of the good stories, some of the bad stories? Give me the experience.
I mean, the real idea behind Lend a Hand is always to give a hand up, not a hand out. So that definitely was a different experience in terms of having to do food packages and things like that. Now, I was not really on the ground at the time, and I think you were not really even able to travel.
Yeah.
But between Sheila and Mitzi and the team at the center, there was a ton of volunteers.
There was a ton. And there's also expanded staff that happened, expanded donation. But we were at the peak. We were feeding over 50,000 people a week for about 6 months or so.
50,000?
Yeah, it was over about 2 years, but at its peak, it averaged, maybe 20 or 30,000 on average. But then it jumped tremendously after about a year into it, where we had to expand, and we had mostly the downtown city area, which you always look at programs like that, and you're like, of course, it's always easy after the fact to look back and criticize this
everything in retrospect, right?
But for me, I did go on the ground twice during that period, 3 times during that period of time, and I helped from afar on the data side, but going on the ground and seeing people's faces, people were truly desperate. These were not people just trying to game the system. There was that.
Of course. Taking advantage.
People trying to get a second bag, third bag. And we cracked down a lot on that. And Mitzi Ann definitely cracked down a lot on that. But, really you saw the desperation in people's faces, and you saw the impact that it did have. And to me, I think it was, good that everyone stood up and helped in that way, and the donors came forward from all over. And we were getting donations from people I've never even heard of, but they were all people that were concerned about the Bahamas, concerned about what was happening, all the layoffs. And coming out of that, it was good because we expanded so much where we saw this whole area downtown where we met. It was over 13,000 households. And so we connected with so many families. We heard their problems. We saw some of the issues that now we're able to look at that and think about that. And, as we look at programming, we're able to think, okay, like I can tell you right now how many houses in Angliston, for example, have running water. In Grandson, I can tell you who has a computer or not, who has electricity or not, how many kids are in the house. Is there a disability? Does someone have a disability in the home? Where are the single parents, for example, that might need extra support? So that is really going to help us. And this was all internal stuff that we worked on, going door to door.
Because I was going to ask you the data, collecting all the data. Are there any other agencies that may collaborate with you that are interested in having that data and using it in a positive way to impact, to kind of correct some of those deficiencies?
Yeah, our data was more so separate from the whole Feeding Task Force program. That was its own data set. I'm not talking about that, but we did our own surveying of the community, and this was all them giving us that information. And yeah, I think it's a lot of opportunity. I mean, for me, it's great to be able to pull those stats out to go to donors and say, okay, you want to make sure that there's clean drinking water in every home, or people have running water to be able to bathe. You want to do a well water project, whatever. We're able to actually have a real stat and not just say, hey, I need $25,000 to go, if we install some electrical fixtures, a lot of kids could study at night. Like where, who,
right,
when, versus now we're able, and we were able to do that beforehand too, but now I'm just saying that our reach got even bigger. And yeah, we're hoping to collaborate with more groups and even other charities. And that's one thing that came out of the whole period while we were feeding was a lot of collaboration among nonprofits. We had 8 different locations that we distributed from. Some were churches, some were other centers. And so we also formed this kind of network that during a time of disaster might be called again.
Okay. Knock on wood for sure.